Most people have never talked to an insurance adjuster before the day they have to file a claim. And in that moment, when your house just got damaged or your car just got hit, you're stressed, you're emotional, and you're trying to figure out what happens next. That's exactly when a few wrong words or a few missed steps can cost you thousands of dollars. The adjuster isn't your enemy, but they're not your advocate either. Their job is to evaluate the claim, determine what's covered, and calculate what the carrier owes. The better you understand how that process works, the better your outcome is going to be. I run an independent insurance agency. We help individuals, families, and business owners with their insurance every day. And one of the most common calls we get from clients isn't about buying insurance, it's about what to do after something goes wrong. So let's walk through how to handle the adjuster conversation, what to say, what not to say, and the mistakes that lead to underpaid or denied claims. Before we get into what to say, you need to understand who you're talking to and what their role is. There are three types of adjusters. A staff adjuster works directly for your insurance company. They're an employee of the carrier. Their job is to inspect the damage, review the policy, and recommend a settlement amount. An independent adjuster is a contractor the carrier hires when they need more help. This happens a lot after major storms or natural disasters when the carrier can't keep up with the volume of claims. They do the same job as a staff adjuster, but they're not a direct employee of the company. A public adjuster works for you. You hire them. They inspect the damage, document your losses, and negotiate with the carrier on your behalf. Public adjusters typically charge 10 to 15% of the claim payout. We'll come back to when a public adjuster makes sense. The key thing to understand is that the staff adjuster and the independent adjuster work for the insurance company. They're not trying to hurt you, but their job is not to maximize your payout. Their job is to evaluate the claim according to the policy and calculate what the carrier owes based on the damage, the coverage, and the policy terms. That means you are the one responsible for making sure nothing gets missed. The adjuster visit isn't the beginning of the process. It's the middle. What you do before they arrive matters just as much as what you say during the inspection. First, document everything immediately after the loss. Take photos and video of all the damage before anything gets moved or cleaned up. Get wide shots and close-ups. Document every room, every wall, every damaged item. If there's water damage, document where the water is coming from, where it's pooling, and how far it's spread. If it's wind damage, document the roof, the siding, the windows, the fences, the yard. Don't assume the adjuster will see everything. Your documentation is your backup. Second, make a detailed inventory of damaged or destroyed items. Write down what was damaged, when you bought it, what it cost, what it would cost to replace. If you have receipts, pull them. If you have a home inventory list, now's the time to use it. If you don't have a home inventory, start from memory and be as thorough as possible. The adjuster will want to see this. Third, make needed repairs to prevent further damage. If your roof has a hole, tarp it. If a window is broken, board it up. If a pipe is leaking, shut off the water. Your policy requires you to mitigate further damage. If you don't, the carrier can deny the portion of the claim that resulted from your failure to protect the property. But do not make permanent repairs before the adjuster inspects the damage. Temporary only. Keep all receipts for any emergency repairs. Those costs are typically reimbursable under your policy. Fourth, pull out your insurance policy and read it. Specifically, look at your coverage limits, your deductible, and any exclusions. You should know what's covered before the adjuster tells you what's covered. If you don't understand something in the policy, call your agent and ask. That's what we're here for. Fifth, get your own repair estimates. Contact one or two licensed contractors and ask them to assess the damage and provide a written repair estimate. You don't have to have these before the adjuster arrives, but getting them as soon as possible gives you a comparison point when the adjuster presents their estimate. When the adjuster arrives, you want to be present. Don't let them inspect the property without you there. If you can't be there, send someone you trust who knows where the damage is and can walk the adjuster through it. Start by getting the adjuster's full name, phone number, email, and the claim number. Write it down. You'll need this for follow-up. Walk them through the property and point out all the damage. Don't assume they'll find everything on their own. Adjusters have a lot of claims and limited time. A typical inspection lasts 1 to 2 hours. If your damage is extensive, things can get missed. Your job is to make sure they see everything. Be organized. Have your photos ready. Have your inventory list ready. If you've already gotten contractor estimates, share them. The more documentation you provide, the harder it is for anything to fall through the cracks. Be honest and factual. Describe what happened accurately. Don't exaggerate the damage and don't downplay it. Stick to the facts. What happened, when it happened, what was damaged, and what you've done since. Do not speculate about the cause. If you don't know what caused the damage, say that. Don't guess. If you say the wrong thing about causation, it can shift the claim into an excluded category. For example, if your basement has water damage and you tell the adjuster the house flooded, that's a different claim than if storm runoff overwhelmed a window well. Flooding is typically excluded from a standard homeowner's policy. Wind-driven water is usually covered. Let the adjuster determine the cause based on the evidence. You describe what you saw. They determine what caused it. Ask questions. Ask the adjuster what they think the cause of loss is. Ask what coverages they think apply. Ask whether the claim will be paid on a replacement cost basis or actual cash value. Ask what the timeline looks like and ask what additional documentation they need from you. Write down their answers. Before the adjuster leaves, ask them to confirm what damage they documented. Walk through it one more time. If you notice something they missed, point it out before they leave. It's much harder to add damage to a claim after the inspection report has been submitted. You're not in an adversarial situation, but there are things you should avoid saying because they can be used to limit or deny your claim. Not because the adjuster is trying to trick you, but because how you describe the loss matters in how the policy responds. Don't admit fault or negligence. If a tree fell on your roof and you knew the tree was dead, don't volunteer that information unprompted. Negligence and failure to maintain can be grounds for denial. That doesn't mean you should lie. Never lie, but there's a difference between answering a direct question honestly and volunteering information that hurts your claim. Don't say you're fine if you're not. If the adjuster asks how things are going, a casual response can be taken at face value. If you say everything's fine and your kitchen ceiling is on the floor, that disconnect creates a credibility issue. Don't agree to a recorded statement unless your policy requires it. Most homeowners' policies do require cooperation, which can include providing a statement, but you don't have to do it on the spot. Ask if you can schedule it. That gives you time to prepare and organize your thoughts. Don't accept the first settlement offer without reviewing it. The adjuster will present an estimate of what the carrier owes. Review it carefully. Compare it to your contractor estimates. If there's a significant gap, you have the right to negotiate. That doesn't mean every estimate is wrong, but it does mean you should verify it before you sign. Don't sign a release or final settlement until you're confident the number covers everything. Once you sign, you're typically giving up the right to reopen the claim for additional damage that was missed. This is the one that catches the most people. Insurance policies are contracts. They respond to specific language, and the words you use to describe what happened can trigger different clauses in the policy. If you say your basement flooded, that points to the flood exclusion. If you say rain came in through a broken window, that points to wind damage, which is typically covered. Both descriptions could be describing the exact same water in your basement, but one triggers coverage and the other doesn't. I'm not telling you to misrepresent what happened. I'm telling you to describe what you actually observed. Where did the water come from? How did it get in? What did you see? Let the adjuster and the carrier make the coverage determination based on the facts. Don't accidentally use a term that excludes your own claim. The same thing applies to words like gradual, ongoing, and pre-existing. If you tell the adjuster the leak has been going on for months, that shifts the loss from a sudden and accidental event to a maintenance issue. Sudden and accidental is covered. Gradual deterioration typically is not. Again, be honest, but describe what you observed, not what you assume happened over time. This happens. The adjuster's estimate comes in and it's lower than what your contractor quoted. That doesn't mean someone's lying. Adjusters use estimating software that calculates labor and materials based on regional pricing. Contractors quote based on what the job will actually cost them to do. Those numbers don't always match. Here's what to do. Get the adjuster's estimate in writing. Get your contractor's estimate in writing. Sit down and compare them line by line. Identify the specific items where the numbers differ. Is it a difference in scope, meaning the adjuster didn't include damage the contractor found? Is it a difference in pricing, meaning they're pricing the same work differently? Or is it a difference in methodology, meaning the contractor is quoting replacement cost and the adjuster is calculating actual cash value? If it's a scope issue, ask the adjuster to re-inspect. Show them the damage the contractor found that wasn't in their report. If it's a pricing issue, provide your contractor's estimate and ask the carrier to review it. Most carriers will work with you to close the gap. If it's a replacement cost versus actual cash value issue, read your policy. If you have replacement cost coverage, the carrier may initially pay actual cash value and release the remaining amount once you complete the repairs and submit receipts. That's standard. Make sure you understand how your policy handles the recoverable depreciation. If you've done all of this and you still can't reach an agreement, you have options. If the gap between the carrier's estimate and your contractor's estimate is significant, or if your claim was partially or fully denied and you believe it should have been covered, there are 3 escalation paths. Your agent. Start here. If you work with an independent agent, they can advocate for you with the carrier. They can review the adjuster's report, compare it to the policy, and push back on your behalf. This is one of the biggest advantages of having an independent agent. We work for you. A public adjuster. If the claim is large enough to justify it, hiring a public adjuster gives you someone with professional claims experience working on your side. They'll re-inspect the damage, build their own estimate, and negotiate directly with the carrier. Public adjusters typically charge 10 to 15% of the payout. On a $50,000 claim, that's $5,000 to $7,000. That fee only makes sense if the public adjuster can recover significantly more than what the carrier offered. For small claims, the math usually doesn't work. Your state's Department of Insurance. Every state has a department that regulates insurance companies. If you believe the carrier is not handling your claim fairly, you can file a complaint. In Nevada, that's the Nevada Division of Insurance. In Arizona, it's the Arizona Department of Insurance and Financial Institutions. In California, it's the California Department of Insurance. In Utah, it's the Utah Insurance Department. Filing a complaint puts the carrier on notice that a regulator is watching, and it triggers a formal review of how the claim was handled. Hiring an attorney is also an option, but it's typically a last resort and most appropriate when you believe the carrier is acting in bad faith, meaning they're not following their own policy terms or they're unreasonably delaying or denying a legitimate claim. Most people don't realize there's a timeline built into the claims process, and that timeline varies by state. Carriers are generally required to acknowledge your claim within a set number of days after you file it. They're required to begin their investigation promptly, and they're required to pay approved claims within a set number of days after the investigation is complete. If your carrier is dragging their feet, ask for a written update on where the claim stands. Document every communication. Keep a log of who you talked to, when, and what was discussed. If they're missing deadlines, that's something your state's Department of Insurance will want to know about. The more organized and proactive you are, the faster the process moves. Talking to an insurance adjuster isn't something to be afraid of, but it's also not something to go into unprepared. Document everything before the adjuster arrives: photos, video, inventory receipts. Be present during the inspection and walk them through every piece of damage. Be honest, be factual, and don't speculate about causation. Don't volunteer information that could trigger an exclusion. Get your own contractor estimates and compare them line by line to the adjuster's numbers. If the estimate comes in low, push back with documentation. If the claim is denied and you believe it should have been covered, escalate. Start with your agent. Then consider a public adjuster. Then go to your state's Department of Insurance. The adjuster is doing their job. Your job is to make sure nothing gets missed and the claim is settled fairly based on what your policy actually says. We help individuals, families, and business owners with their insurance every day. Whether it's your home, your rental property, your business, your vehicles, life insurance, etc., we can help you make sure everything is set up correctly before something happens. There's a link below to get a quote or schedule a coverage review, or just give us a call. Thanks for watching.